In this video we're going to look at the roofs, which are our wedge receivers. There's three common wedge receivers in the lift and lock line. The first one is the locking wedge receiver. You'll see that there's one ball on the back of it. It gets held in the head. The head is a two-part clamp. When we take it apart, you'll see that there's a concave cutout on both sides of the clamp. We want to trap the ball of the wedge receiver into that cutout. Now, there's a bit of a trick here. When you're taking this apart, you have to take it far enough apart to get the ball in. The screws have to be totally disengaged to do that. The problem is, you don't want to lose the nuts. So hold your finger across the back of the head. You can then unscrew everything, slide it apart. You haven't lost the nuts. Put your head in, your wedge receiver in, and then tighten the screws back up. You have one cap screw and you have one handle. I'm going to spin this so you can see it better in a second. Okay, so looking at the side here, you've got a cap screw at the bottom, you've got a handle at the top. You do not want to fully tighten one and then start trying to tighten the other one. The clam will come together on an angle and you won't get a good fit, and sometimes your screw won't even reach to grab on. So you want to pull it, turn your bottom cap screw in until it's just feeling snug on the ball, and stop. Tighten the top handle up. Good and tight. Then you can finish snugging the bottom one up. Okay? To position your device by loosening the top handle off, this is all free. So I can go right from, if I had a laptop tray on, I could go right horizontal, anywhere down through the angle. With a locking receiver though, once I've picked the angle I want, I'm going to tighten my handle up good and tight, and it's staying there. That cannot be moved again now until you loosen the handle off. I loosen it off, I can change it to a different position, lock it back up again, and we're good to go. So that was our locking wedge receiver. Our next wedge receiver is our rotary wedge receiver. You'll see that it's got a double ball shaft on the back of it. There's a flange that locks it onto the receiver, and then one that goes into the head. Same thing, we're going to put it in the head. We're going to tighten the bottom screw up until it's just snug. We're going to tighten the handle up. We're going to pick a general rough range. I like to go about 45 degrees right here. I'm going to snug that handle up good and tight, because now I can keep moving the wedge receiver on the ball. I've got it quite snug right now because I had a fairly tight device in there, or a heavy device. If I want to drop the friction, there's 4 screws in the front face here. I'm going to give each one of them a little turn. I'm going to turn it so I can see it. Okay, so that was these 4 screws here. They are assembly screws. They also set the friction of the ball. So now it steadily gets looser, so I can spin it around. I can go landscape, portrait, change the angle, do whatever I want on the fly. Typically this is used for little tablets, iPads, cell phones, some light devices. If we have a heavier device such as eye gaze, then we're going to go to the next wedge receiver. So this is our EG or eye gaze wedge receiver. Similar to the rotary wedge receiver, it does have a double ball shaft in it. Does have a flange that locks it onto the wedge receiver, but you'll notice there's 2 aluminum halves to it, so it's just got a lot more grabbing power. We're going to set it into the head, same as the other two. Tighten up the bottom screw. Tighten up the handle. Set our range approximately where we want it. Now, because this is an EG, we know we're probably going to be putting a fairly heavy device in here, so we're going to tighten that handle up good and tight. We're going to tighten that Allen screw up good and tight. And note here again how important it is to bring the two halves together evenly. You don't want a great big gap at the top and no gap on the bottom, or vice versa. Once we've got that locked in place, again, we can keep moving here. Now, I've got this quite loose right now. I could use this like a rotary. I can loosen this right up so that the friction is quite loose. But as again, I tighten up the 4 screws in the front here, I'm adding a lot more friction. I can barely move that. I could actually back that off a little bit. If I had a device on, it might be just right. But I can really set the friction to almost no movement right up to loose with those 4 screws.